ब्रह्मचर्यव्रती दण्डी सर्ववेदान्तपण्डित श्रीमद्विवेकयोगी मां प्रचोदयतु सर्वदा। We talked of the all-pervasiveness of Atman, the infinite nature of Atman, the infinite power, potential that is there in the Atman. So, Patanjali also makes a mention of this. There is a reservoir from which we allow the water to flow into our irrigation field. So, we have made irrigation channels. Kerala people will be very, very familiar with this. In good old days, we used to take water from our wells and irrigation canals or tanks in our compounds and then irrigate through small, small canals, irrigate the whole campus with the water pulled from there. So, the infinite power of Atman is allowed to flow through these channels to irrigate the field. So, we don't have to add any power to that. The infinite power is already there. We have only to keep the locks open so that that power flows into the channels of our life. These channels of our life are the karma, yoga, bhakti, etc., etc. We have to unlock that. So for that only we do so many religious rituals or sadhanas or upasanas and things like that, so that we open this lock, so that infinite power will start flowing through this. If you keep your studies and open the lock, all concentration on your studies, then you find you march ahead in your studies. So in any of our attempts, we unlock this infinite potential of the Atman within, you will find it can irrigate. So I will quote Patanjali's words, like the peasant irrigating his field. Through a little corner of his field, he brings water from a reservoir, and perhaps he has got a little lock that prevents the water from rushing into his field. When he wants water, he has simply to open the lock and in rushes the water of its own power. The power has not to be added. It is already there in the reservoir. So every one of us, every being has as his own background such a reservoir of strength, infinite power, infinite purity, infinite bliss, and existence infinite. Only these locks, these are the locks, our bodies. These locks are hindering us from expressing what we really are to the fullest. So, our body, when we say body, it is just an inert body we are talking of. Body has its indriyas, the capacity of indriyas to react with the world, then the mind to absorb the impressions brought by the indriyas, the intellect to sit in judgment over them, then our decisions to make them practical and impractical in our life. So all these are the small locks and big locks by which we prevent this inflow of the infinite power. So we must remember that Atman is the foundation of our subtle body. Wherever there is any strength, yadyad vibhudimat sattvam srimad urjidameva. Similarly in our body also, wherever we find a capacity to do something good, make use of that. You are a singer. Make use of that singing. For what? To glorify that Lord. You have capacity to teach. Make use of your teaching to exemplify that great teacher. You have the capacity to be a good mother. Be it so. Be a Devakarya Samudyaka, one who will impart to the next generation the wonderful principles of our great traditions of Satya and Dharma. So in each and every way, this infinite potential within us can be made use of in our day-to-day lives. And this way of understanding ourselves will give us the next highest jump outside, which our seers took, Tattvamasi. So when I know of my infinite potential, I recognize the same in you. You are not different from me. The great Tattva which I embody, that Tattva is within you. Tattvamasi, the great infinite Lord. You are also that. So that is how Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi became two cardinal ideals of our Sanatana Dharma, which need very deep concentration, contemplation, so that when I say I, that great Kapila Muni tells his mother, Athamam sarva bhuteshu bhutatmanam kritalayam arhayet danamanabhyam. Mother, remember this, your child Kapila, this God, is present everywhere. Athamam sarva bhuteshu, everywhere, without any distinction. And according to your capacity, arhayet, you do offerings, pujayet, worship, maitriya, with a friendly disposition, abhinna chakshusha, abheda bhava. Don't say, I am a Brahmin, you are lower me. I am a teacher, you are a student. I am a Raja, you are a Praja. Nothing. Abhinna chakshusha. With no difference at all in your, because it is the same. Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi are the two cardinal points. You are sitting in one chair, and the other person sitting on the other chair. But we are the same. So that is how Hinduism became such a glorious tradition. Nobody can surpass the teachings and the practical wisdom that our great teachers have imparted to us. How foolish of us to waste our life running after the senses, sense objects and their enjoyments. Hand over those to the policeman, Raja Yogi. Let him correct our lives and bring to us the fragrance of eternal India, our great spiritual, glorious spiritual heritage. And that is how we can transform ourselves into living tissues. Let us not forget, our first contention, how we have started, is to create within ourselves living tissues, to start loving India and all that India stood for from eternal times, to be a living tissue. Let that be a great mantra which will transform our lives.